Hello everyone. I now find that my humble little channel has 100,000 subscribers. Thank you all for being a part of this and for supporting About Magic. I guess it's a tradition that YouTube creators at 100,000 do a Q&A, and so I have questions from you that I'll answer in this video, and I do remain committed to trying to provide for all of you the best lessons that I can make. So let's get started. I remember being about 5 years old, and there was a variety show on TV, and the magician, I believe it was Ricciardi, the famous South American illusionist and magician who is fantastic. And he floated somebody. I think it may have been the broomstick suspension. And so I saw that, and I remember asking my mom, how do they do that? I had enough knowledge of physics at the time. And my mom just told me, well, it's magic. And so that's how I sparked my interest, because it was so interesting to know that this wasn't real, but that there was some secret to it. I remember being 5 years old, and I had a doctor that did magic. And so I still remember walking into the examination room, and he used to do magic to put me at ease. So what he did was he took a dime, he vanished it, and then he pulled it out of my ear, or just from above my ear. And I was so amazed. And I remember as a kid, I still had this idea that I knew that it was some kind of secret. But so so thinking about it, I came up with the idea that when I walked into the examination room, he had some kind of suspended dime that when I walked in the room, it somehow stuck here. And the entire time before he did the trick, I was just wearing it. So I still had no explanation how the dime disappeared, but that was my explanation at the time, how the dime got up above my ear. Like a lot of magicians, I got into magic as a kid. It all started out with a Chex cereal commercial where they had you save box tops. That's what we did in those days. We would tear the tops of the boxes off, and by sending in 7 of these box tops, I could send it to Chex cereal, and I would get this amazing magic set. So that's where my interest first started. I still have my very first magic books. Now, at some point when I started going to college, I had an interest in magic. I used to watch all the magic shows, David Copperfield and such. But at some point, I went to college and kind of lost interest in magic. And then I was just in the working world. And so maybe about much later, I was quite a bit, decades had gone by, and my wife had become friends with a fellow singer. They sing in various groups here in LA. And her husband was a magician, or still is a magician, a very respected one. And as soon as we all became friends, suddenly this bug bit me. I was into magic, always carrying playing cards with me, coins and cards, and all of you out there that are into magic, you know exactly what that's like. And then here in LA, the magicians that do the birthday parties, because that's where I started, typically learn how to make balloons. What the bookers want is a magician to do 45 minutes a show, or at least at the time, and then do 15 minutes of balloon animals. So I started doing balloon animals, and I found that I really enjoyed the creativity and the freedom to create balloons. And so that's how I got into balloon animals. What happened, how I turned pro is there were friends that knew I was into magic, and they said, oh, and I had young kids as well. And they told me, oh, hey, we're having a party a couple weekends from now, and you want to just try out a show. And so these kinds of things motivated me. And then eventually I put the word out that I was going to be doing more and more shows. And I'm just so thankful that it took off, and I've been able to do magic for close to 25 years as a full-time pro. And of course, I did start this YouTube channel. And the reason why I started the YouTube channel was some of you may recall from the 90s, late 90s into early mid 2000s, there was a site called magic.about.com, and I was the editor. I somehow, after my professional career had ended in the private industry, I left the industry. I was an engineer at one time, and so I became not a magician when I left the corporate world, but a writer. And so I published several books, and I used to write for computer magazines, and I reviewed video games, as well as here in the LA area, I reviewed movies. And so that's what I did. And then when I got into magic, this opportunity came up with this magic.about.com, one of the early blogs in the magic space. And I think looking back, I probably wasn't that experienced or knowledgeable about magic, but combined with my writing experience, I auditioned and got the job. And so that led into working with Cosmo, with the Real Magic Quarterly, Real Magic DVD, and he certainly has his online system still up, and that led to performing at the Magic Castle and doing more and more gigs. Now, my gigs tended to be, say, my business model was performing at bars and restaurants, and so there were, over the last until the pandemic, for about 15 to 17 years, somewhere in there, I had between 5 and 7 paid gigs a week at restaurants and bars. I never worked for tips. These were all paid gigs. And then people would see me, and then they would hire me for shows. And so at that point, once I got away from the birthday party circuit, I still do birthday parties now and then, but I was able to just kind of pick and choose because I always had weekend gigs. And yeah, the weekends were packed, but it's been a lot of fun. And at some point, magic.about.com wanted to start doing videos. And what happened was they asked somebody else to do the videos and didn't ask me. And I was so angry. That was the reason why I started this YouTube channel, just to put some lessons up. And it was a slow kind of thing in the beginning. I think all channels, it's really tough to get started. But I was able to somehow build this channel up. And thanks to all of you supporting it, I really enjoy coming up with these magic lessons as well as teaching the balloon animals. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.